Season 2, Newcastle United career mode. The lads had enjoyed the holidays, but it was time to get back to business. And with losing Lazaro, Willems and Rose, we'd be in the market for some new fullbacks. And we'd be going in for a new left back as well. A few lads would leave the team, and that would leave us with 76 million to spend. And spend it we would. Martinelli would be the first lad that would come into the team, 13 million. Looking good, son. Would also buy some red sauce. Tavares would come in to fill that left-back position, and also Atal would come in to fill that right-back position. But that wasn't the only people that were coming back. Yes, Alan Shearer was making a return to Newcastle United. He was looking to win the Champions League and the Premier League, something he was never able to do back in the day. And everyone was asking the question, did he still have it? Dembele would play the ball into him. He would fire a rocket. And that was that answered. Alan Shearer, he was back. But Leicester City, they would look to spoil the party. They would be able to equalise just before half-time with through Tillemans. And then Maddison would make it 2-1. But this was Alan Shearer's return to St James's Park. He wasn't having his first game back as a loss. And he would equalise. And Newcastle United would draw that game 2-2. Moving on to the next game though, we would be taking on Tottenham Hotspurs. Newcastle were looking for the first 3 points of the season. St Maxima play the ball in. Bargo dinged it up. Nice little volley. It was looking good. We're 1-0 up. Then Shearer will get a great opportunity. But then he was brought down. You don't do that. Jose knew exactly what was going to be coming. Shearer would step up. He was going to be slotting that away. Thank you very much. 2-0 to Newcastle. But Spurs, they did not learn the lesson. And it would be Shearer brought down yet again in the box. 12 yards. He's dangerous. Slots it away. And that was the first 3 points for Newcastle United. He was back indeed. And then it was on to Manchester United. I remember Newcastle beating them 5-1 back in the day. And so did that man. He was going to be looking to get on the score sheet yet again. He would get past Lindelof. Shearer would slot it past De Gea, making it 1-0. That's all it took. Newcastle would come out victorious against Manchester United. And apparently, history would beckon in this next game. All eyes were on Lacazette. But in my opinion, there was only one true number 9 on that pitch. Almiron would make it 1-0 25 minutes into the game. But Lacazette, he would get his opportunity to shine. Loads of space. Don't know what Newcastle were thinking at this point. He was giving it the absolute biggin. Come on, son. You've forgotten about one man. And that is Alan Shearer with an absolute rocket, putting Newcastle 2-1 up. And that was that. Yet another 3 points for Newcastle. And we would move on to Manchester City. Kenny hadn't forgotten about what Pep Guardiola had said to him last season. They were out for blood in this one. Shearer would get a great opportunity early on, but Rodri hadn't got the memo. You don't give that man an opportunity from 12 yards. It would be Alan Shearer that would be stepping up. And Edison goes the wrong way. Shearer makes it 1-0. But that wasn't the end. Dembele would flick it up. Shearer on the volley, making it 2. It was looking good for Newcastle United. This was a different Newcastle United with Alan Shearer at the helm. And then after that, going into the second half, Shearer would play a great ball through to Dembele, who would get lucky here. But it didn't matter because we were 3-0 up. There was some absolutely shocking defending from Shaw. I don't know what he was thinking here. And Aguero was able to capitalise. But City didn't have it in them to come back because you can't forget about Alan II, St Maxima. He would make it 4-1. And that was that for the Premier League. Moving into the Champions League, the Group H, going up against PSG, Club Brugge and Besiktas. Newcastle knew that they had a great opportunity to make it into the knockout stages of the Champions League. Shearer would put Newcastle 1-0 up early on, but this was a game very much like the first game in the Premier League against Leicester, because Club Brugge, they would go 2-1 up, and it was looking pretty bad for Newcastle until Alan Shearer steps up, was able to slot it past the keeper, make it 2-2 and pick up an important point. Because moving into the game against Besiktas, Newcastle needed to be picking up the 3 points here, otherwise they would have been going out. Bargo would play the ball in. Almiron would put a 1-0 up. Newcastle were on a mission here. St Maxima would play the ball into the box. Alan Shearer onto the score sheet. Yet again, 2-0 up with 20 minutes gone. Dembele, fantastic opportunity. It was only him and the keeper. and he would slot it past him. Newcastle United 3-0 up. All it would take is one more goal. And what a goal that was. Barco, you enjoy that, son. What a volley. And that was the first 3 points. And a much needed 3 points, because all we needed to do now was beat PSG. But that is easier said than done. This team was stacked. Mbappe, Aubameyang, Di Maria. But they did not have one secret weapon, and that was Alan Shearer. Makes it 1-0. 3 minutes into the game, things were looking good. And not long after that, Barco would play the ball into the box, and Shearer, yet again, would make it 2-0. Newcastle United were flying. It would be Alan II who would burst into space, one-on-one with the keeper, sending it past him. Newcastle United 3-0 up. And Mbappe, he would be able to pull a goal back, but it wasn't enough, because Newcastle, they had got the 3 points that they needed. They were through to the knockout stage of the Champions League. Moving into the Premier League, though, halfway through the season, Newcastle were sitting pretty top of the league. Matty Longstaff did submit a transfer request. Cheers, mate, but if you don't want to be here, we don't want you. One lad that did, though, was McTominay. And what a partnership he was making with Alan Shearer. He would play a great ball through, and Shearer would score the only goal against Chelsea. But like I say, what a partnership, because moving into the next game, it would be first versus second, Newcastle against Liverpool. And we were making a statement early on. Almiron would put Newcastle 1-0 up. But McTominay and Shearer, it was that partnership of dreams. Shearer with the volley, absolutely amazing, son. And then Shearer, if he wasn't scoring the goals, he was setting them up. Dembele was one-on-one with Karius. What's he doing back there? But there you go. Dembele would make him suffer yet again, making it 4. But the nightmare, it was not over for Liverpool, because Shearer would be one-on-one 83 minutes into the game. There you go. Thank you very much. Newcastle United were flying in the Premier League. In the Champions League, though, we drew a first knockout phase game against Juventus 2-2. We needed to win this. St. Maxima will put Newcastle United 1-0 up. Dembele would then get a little bit lucky, but it meant that Newcastle had a nice 2-0 cushion. And then Sean Longstaff would pull this out of his magic hat, making it 3. They would be able to pull one back through Ronaldo, but it wasn't enough. Newcastle were through, and it was against Manchester City in the semi-finals. We'd beat them in the Premier League. We could do it again here. Alan Shearer would make it 1-0. Then Almiron would get an opportunity. João Cancelo, come on, son. They just do not learn. Getting a straight red. Man City down to 10 men. Shearer making it 2-0. Things weren't looking good for City, but we knew that we would have to score as many of away goals as we possibly could. Dembele would make it 3. And then he would get an opportunity to make it 4. And it was a much needed 4th goal, because back at St. James's Park, City would win 4-1. But it didn't matter. We were through. We were through. And who was up next? Oh, just Barcelona. And this would be very much like the game against City. St. Maxima with a great bit of magic there, slotting a goal away for Newcastle United. Again, we had to score as many away goals as we possibly could. Shearer would make it 2, but 2 was just not going to be enough. Dembele would be brought down in the 87th minute. Come on. Shearer plus 12 yards equals 1 outcome. And that's a goal. We're 3-0 up. Felt like all we needed was one more goal, and that would be it. And Dembele would answer the call. 91st minute would break away, slotting it past ter Stegen. That was it. Newcastle United 4-0, because back at St. James's Park we would lose 3-1, but it didn't matter. We're through. And then we're on to the last game of the season. Newcastle United never thought this could be the case, but they could be lifting the Premier League trophy. Lascelles had given the armband to Shearer. It would be only right that Alan Shearer would come back and lift that Premier League trophy, and he would put Newcastle United 1-0 up 13 minutes into the game. Dembele would play McTominay through. He would slot it past De Gea, and he would be celebrating in front of his old pals. Then Dembele getting lucky at the end. But that's all it took. Newcastle United 3 goals in the first half. They were Premier League champions. Alan Shearer would be lifting that trophy, something he was never able to do with Newcastle United. But all that would have to be put to the back of the mind, because it was on to the Champions League final, and it was against none other than PSG. It would be Alan Shearer that would lead the team out yet again. Dembele would put Newcastle 1-0 up 24 minutes into the game. This kid would have the game of his life. 36 minutes in, making it 2. Newcastle was sitting pretty. It looked like that Champions League title would be coming home to the tune. But PSG weren't going down without a fight. Mbappe would pull one back just before half-time, and then there was some absolutely diabolical defending from Tavares, and Aubameyang would capitalise. But it did come to El Capitano, Alan Shearer. It would be the last game in his Newcastle career, and he would make it 3-2. But we were not done there. Dembele was on a mission. He would make it 4, and not long after that, he would get the opportunity to get his 4th goal of the game. It would fall pretty for him, and that was that. Newcastle United had done it. They were going to be lifting that Champions League trophy. Alan Shearer's mission was complete. He came back to win the Premier League. He came back to win the Champions League, and that's exactly what he's done. Hope you guys have enjoyed this little series that we've done. If you have, drop a like. Don't forget, hit that subscribe button if you are new to the channel. But as always, I will see you in the next one.